what happened. Libya's a catastrophe. People are getting their heads chopped off. They're being drowned.
Today, the government of Libya announced the death of Muammar Gaddafi. This marks the end of a long and painful chapter for the people of Libya, who now have the opportunity to determine their own destiny in a new and democratic Libya.
Yes, we came, we saw, we died.
أقسم بالله العظيم أن أبذل جميعه في سبيل الجماهيرية العربية الليبية الشعبية الاشتراكية العظمى.
In 2011, a bloody civil war erupted in the African nation of Libya. Islamic terrorists swarmed the streets, killing soldiers and civilians. The US military was sent into Libya, not to put down the terrorist rebels, but to help them. That's right, President Barack Obama led a NATO coalition to help the terrorists overthrow the government. It's been estimated that our NATO airstrikes killed between 200 and 400 innocent civilians. Muammar Gaddafi, the leader of Libya, was captured by a violent mob of rebels who beat him bloody and ripped off his clothes. In one video, the mob rapes him with a bayonet. In another, they pose for photographs with his lifeless body. Hillary Clinton, who had pushed for the invasion of Libya, found Gaddafi's death pretty funny.
Yes, we came, we saw, he died.
But for many Africans, this was nothing to laugh about. All across the continent, Gaddafi was mourned as a martyr. One mosque in Uganda held a memorial service, and over 30,000 people showed up to pay their respects. Under Gaddafi, Libya had been one of the richest nations in Africa, with the second highest human development score on the continent, beaten only by the wealthy island nation of Seychelles. Libya actually scored above many European countries, and it scored way higher than Russia or China. Today, however, Libya is a haven for terrorism and human trafficking. Large swaths of the south are controlled by ISIS. Rape, torture, and assassination runs rampant. Under Gaddafi, Christians were free to openly practice their faith. On religious festivals like Palm Sunday, they would even hold processions in the street. With Gaddafi gone, Christians are frequently killed by Islamic terrorists. In 2015, ISIS kidnapped 21 Christians and beheaded them on a beach. Later that year, they murdered 30 more Christians and nobody stopped them. In 2024, Libya was ranked the third most dangerous country in the world to be a Christian. Why did this happen? Why did America help literal jihadist terrorists take over Libya? Have we really been told the truth about Muammar Gaddafi?
دقت ساعة الزحف، دقت ساعة الانتصار، لا رجوع، إلى الأمام، إلى الأمام، إلى الأمام.
Gaddafi was born to a family of Bedouin shepherds. His parents were illiterate, so they didn't keep any records, and we don't actually know when Gaddafi was born, but it was probably around 1940. During this time, Libya was one of the poorest nations in the world. Only decades earlier, they'd been invaded by Italy, which used chemical weapons, mass execution of civilians, and even concentration camps to subdue the population. In the Libyan region of Cyrenaica, a quarter of the population was killed, and 100,000 Bedouins were forcibly expelled from their homes to be replaced by Italian colonists. Gaddafi's grandfather was actually killed fighting these Italian invaders, a fact that Gaddafi was always proud of. As a teenager, Gaddafi heard about President Nasser's reforms in Egypt, and he was enamored by the ideas of revolution, independence, and Arab nationalism. After school, Gaddafi joined the military and began to organize a secret network of military officers across Libya. In 1969, they rose up, seizing government buildings and police stations. Libya's army and most of the people cheered them on. So, without shedding a drop of blood, Gaddafi became the dictator of Libya. One of his first moves was to eject all Western military bases and to send the Italian colonists back to Italy. At some level, that was probably the right choice. I mean, these people were still culturally Italian. It didn't really make sense for them to live in Libya. Gaddafi's most ambitious project was the Great Man-Made River, a huge network of pipes and aqueducts which carries fresh, clean water all across Libya. In a desert nation, water is everything. And the Great Man-Made River provides 70% of all fresh water used in Libya. Gaddafi's government provided free housing and healthcare to its people. By 1978, Libya had twice as many doctors and hospitals as it had before the revolution. And over the course of Gaddafi's reign, the life expectancy rose from 54 to 70. Not only did Gaddafi liberate his own country, he also aided nationalist movements around the world. He sent millions of dollars to help the Irish win independence from Britain, which led to this dope mural in Ireland. While other Arab nationalists like Saddam Hussein adopted Western modern customs and wore Western clothes, Gaddafi was deeply, eccentrically non-Western. Between his absurdly ostentatious outfits and his bizarre mannerisms, nobody would ever mistake him for a European. Whenever he traveled abroad, Gaddafi brought his tent along in true Bedouin style. Actually, there was one time that he was visiting New York and he pitched his tent on Donald Trump's estate, which is just hilarious.
يلي لا تتصدقونا هم ظلام من أنتم؟ أنا مقاتل مجاهد مناضل ثائر من أنتم؟ نحن قاومنا جبروت أمريكا من أنتم؟
In 1977, Gaddafi reorganized Libya as a Jamahiriya, a state of the masses run by direct democracy. This new government was much more radical and socialist. They took control of all imports and exports and replaced privately owned businesses with government-run supermarkets. Anybody with over 1,000 dinar in their bank account had all their extra money taken by the government. As you might imagine, this caused shortages and economic downturn. Oil revenues fell, foreign debt rose, and Libya was in deep trouble. Then, in 1986, a nightclub in Berlin was bombed by terrorists. The attack was blamed on Gaddafi. Even though there was no proof whatsoever besides unverified rumors, President Ronald Reagan ordered airstrikes on Benghazi and Tripoli. These airstrikes killed around 100 Libyans. Gaddafi's home was destroyed, 2 of his sons were injured, and his adopted daughter was killed. Gaddafi retreated into the desert to meditate. It seems that this attack was a wake-up call. Somewhere out there in the sand, Gaddafi came to a crucial decision, and after that year, he changed trajectory completely. Obviously, Libya's communist economy was not working. So, in 1987, Gaddafi reopened small businesses and allowed the market to get back to work. The same year, he freed hundreds of political prisoners and published the Great Green Charter on Human Rights. Because of these reforms, the European Union dropped its sanctions on Gaddafi, and America removed him from its list of state sponsors of terrorism. American investors poured millions of dollars into Libya, causing an economic boom. It was also clear that Gaddafi's dream of pan-Arab unity wasn't going anywhere anytime soon, so he changed his tune to pan-African unity. In 2005, he called for Africa to unite under a single federal union, with a single African passport, a single defense system, and a single currency. As Gaddafi put it, the United States of Africa is the hope. In 2009, a committee of traditional African leaders crowned Gaddafi King of Africa. Libya's future was looking bright, but in 2011, all of that would change. It was called the Arab Spring. Riots spread like wildfire across the Middle East, with radical young protesters flooding the streets to overthrow their governments. The Western media portrayed these protesters as poor, oppressed freedom fighters trying to overthrow their oppressive governments. But the truth was far less pleasant. These rebels weren't motivated by freedom or democracy. Lots of them weren't even from Libya. They were Islamic extremists, members of ISIS and the Islamic Brotherhood. One of the rebels was a man named Salman Abedi, who later carried out the Manchester Arena bombing, which killed 23 people. These rebels were not freedom fighters, they were terrorists. As Amnesty International put it, Western media coverage has from the outset been a very one-sided view of the logic of events, portraying the protest movement as entirely peaceful. One of the media's most disgusting lies was that Gaddafi ordered his soldiers to rape the rebels. This story was repeated over and over, but according to Donatella Rovira, a senior crisis advisor for Amnesty International, we could not find any evidence or a single victim of rape or a doctor who knew about somebody being raped. The Women's Rights Division of Human Rights Watch confirmed that we have not been able to find any evidence. Of course, we all know how this story ends. NATO bombed Libya, killing civilians and destroying infrastructure. Gaddafi's son and 3 of his grandsons were killed, and Gaddafi was murdered by a violent mob. Watching this video, all I can do is repeat what Vladimir Putin said when he saw it. There was blood all over, he said. Is that what they call a democracy? Since Gaddafi's death, Libya has gone from one of the most prosperous countries in Africa to a murderous, barbaric hellhole. In just 1 year, the UN verified 113 human rights violations, including the killing and maiming of children and at least 15 attacks on hospitals. Every year, thousands of Libyans flee across the Mediterranean on rafts. In 2020 alone, over 3,000 were caught trying to sail into Europe. Just months before he was killed, Gaddafi had sent a message to the nations of Europe, warning them of exactly what happened, that their meddling in the Middle East would cause an immigration crisis and a rise in terrorism. People of NATO, you're bombing a wall which has stood in the way of African migration to Europe and in the way of Al-Qaeda terrorists. This wall was Libya. You're breaking it. You're idiots, and you will burn in hell for the thousands of migrants from Africa and for supporting Al-Qaeda. It will be so. I never lie, and I do not lie now. These are exciting times. The channel is growing. People are waking up. The masses are becoming Arthur Greenwood pilled. But we still have a long way to go. My last channel was demonetized, and they might do the exact same thing to this one. So, if you like what I do and you want to help me out, if you want to help my channel grow, there are 4 things you can do. 1. Leave a comment. Just say anything, literally anything, and that will be a huge help for the algorithm. 2. Send the video to a friend. I know you have some normie friend who needs to hear this. 4, most importantly, consider joining my Patreon. You'll also get to join our members-only Discord server where you can talk with me and the boys about life and politics and history. It's a great time. We have weekly phone calls, and I have genuinely become really good friends with some of the guys in the server. Because we have to stick together, you know? It's rough out there. We need networks of highly disciplined, highly intelligent men. If you want to join my network, all it costs is $1 a month. That adds up to $12 a year, which is nothing. That's less than an hour of work. And in exchange, you get to be my friend forever.